Now live started, Amma.
Hello, good evening, students. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
yes.
Okay. So, in the last lecture, I have told you we will be discussing about the methods of irrigation. Okay. So, in the first method is the surface irrigation, and I told you the surface irrigation usually classified into two categories. Okay, the surface irrigation is classified into two categories. The first one is the wild flooding, and the second one is the controlled flooding. Okay, so in wild flooding, we are not focusing or we are not controlling the water. We just this is the field, and maybe through the pipe we have allowed the irrigation. So we are not going to manage that, or we are not going to control that irrigation. That is known as the wild flooding. And the control flooding, again, it's divided into four categories. Okay, and the first one is known as the check flooding. The second one is the basin flooding, and the third one is the border flooding, and the last one is the furrow flooding. And again, we will be discussing about the furrow classification, but over here we have to focus on the surface irrigation. And usually the surface irrigation is the most common type of irrigation. Okay, and surface irrigation is also known as the gravity irrigation. So this also may ask, the surface irrigation is also known as, so that is known as the gravity irrigation, and this is the ancient method of irrigation. Okay, in some cases also, this what is the method of irrigation, it also usually asks. So the method of irrigation is known as the manner in which the irrigation water is applied to the land. Okay, it what is the method of irrigation? It is the manner in which irrigated water, or the irrigation water you can say, is applied to the land. Okay, so here we have studied that the surface irrigation is also known as the gravity irrigation, and the surface irrigation is the most ancient method of irrigation. And usually this surface irrigation and holds good for more than 95% and of the irrigated area in the world. Means that usually 95% of irrigation water is supplied through the surface irrigation in the whole world. Okay, and this surface irrigation is categorized into, the first one is the wild irrigation, a wild flooding you can say, and the second one is the control flooding. And again, in control flooding we are having four classification: check flooding, basin flooding, border flooding, in furrow sorry basin flooding, border flooding, and the last one is the furrow flooding. Okay, and this surface irrigation is also, the surface irrigation and is also means defined as the run the water over the soil surface and allow it to infiltrate, and this method is known as the surface irrigation. Means over here in the surface irrigation, and we are running the water over the soil surface, and so that and then we are allowing that water to infiltrate. Okay, so this we have to, means in this form also the surface irrigation can be asked in your exam, ki, the irrigation in which we are running the water over the soil surface and then allow it to infiltrate is known as, so that is known as the surface irrigation. Okay, and this surface irrigation is usually have many advantages over the other. Okay, so we have to focus on the advantages also. So one by one I am discussing. The first one is the initial capital investment event is usually lower than for the sprinkler or a drip irrigation. Okay, means we are having low initial capital investment. That's it, I'm not writing the rest portion. And the second one is that the surface irrigation system has relatively low energy requirement. Okay, since in next slides or the next ppt we will be discussing in that drip irrigation or the sprinkler irrigation we are requiring the energy, because in that we are having one pump or like this system as a pipe, but in surface irrigation and we don't have, or if we are having also, then we have required low energy requirements are there. Okay, then the third one is that the certain fruits and vegetables which can be damaged by the sprinkling because of the leaf scorch from the salt residues of the sprinkler water can be safely irrigated by the surface irrigation. Okay, usually especially in the fruits and vegetables are there, where if we are applying the water through the sprinkler, then on the leaf some scorching will be seen. Okay, scorching means on the fruits we see that, and might be the leaf functioning will be hindered. So in that the damaged by sprinkling is prohibited in the surface irrigation. Okay, then in the fourth one is that the surface system can avoid the wind drift. And in the herbicide I have told you what is the wind drift. Wind drift means when we are in like the sprinkler, or since it's a overhead irrigation, in this maybe some this structures will be there, and then we are applying water or in the form of this sprinklers over the crop. So at that time if the wind is blowing in, then this water may move to the in the direction of the wind. Okay, but in surface irrigation we will not be facing any drift wind drift system. Okay, and the last advantages is that the most important advantage we can say of the surface irrigation is its mechanical simplicity. Means it's very simple in mechanics and it's easy adaptation. Means anyone can give their field irrigation with the help of the surface irrigation. So in this we just in the points we have to learn ki we are not having so much capital investment in this, we will not be requiring energy in this, maybe no or low energy requirement will be there, and the damage by the sprinkling in drops, or you can say the fruits and vegetables can be saved in the surface irrigation. And the fourth one is the we can avoid the wind drift. Over here you can write we can avoid wind drift in the system, and also it is a simple and easy adaptation to any of the field. Okay, so we have seen the advantages also of the surface irrigation. Now again we are focusing about the its different classification. The first one is the wild flooding, and in wild flooding you see it is the primitive and the least control. In this also you have to learn only two terms. It is a primitive and least controlled of all the surface irrigation system, and usually water is delivered to the upper part of the plot and allowed to spread over the land in accordance with the natural topography. Means we are not maintaining any topography. Also whatever naturally topography is there, means we are not leveling the land. Also whatever natural topography is there, according to that the water is going to spread over the land, and the distribution of water is highly uneven. In wild flooding, distribution of water is highly uneven. Okay. And consequently the part of the area become the waterlogged. Suppose in you have seen also, if we are applying the irrigation from one corner of the field, then the from where we are applying the corner where we are applying the irrigation, that area is usually the waterlogged, and the rest of the area is not having that much water. Or you can say the according to the topography, in which side there is the sloped is there, at that place your that side is going to be waterlogged in that condition. While so over here the point where the area become waterlogged while other parts remain dry, leading to the eventual pattern of the crop growth. And if that area is sufficiently or optimum irrigation is provided at one corner, and other portion are not optimally requirement of that crop is fulfilled, then at that place the growth of the crop is also not very good. And so the yield production from that plant is also not going to be very good. So uneven distribution is there, which is already written ki the distribution of water is highly uneven, and because of that and the production is also from the plant is also highly uneven in that condition. Okay, so this is what all for the wild irrigation. Now we are having the controlled irrigation. So in controlled irrigation, the first one was the basin. So before that, we just focused on the controlled irrigation. In this, the land is leveled, but we see that in the wild flooding, we are not giving in any leveling. But in controlled irrigation, land is going to be leveled or graded or subdivided by the means of the channels and ridges, because over here we are controlling that flooding. Okay, that's why the land is leveled, and also we are graded it, we are dividing it in the channels and the ridges. Okay, and also water is guided to each of the subdivision, and depending on the manner in which the land is divided or the controlled, so they are accordingly named differently. Okay, means how we are guiding the water guidance. Okay, the water guidance to its subdivision, means the ridges or the channels or the graded anything, in the water guidance to its subdividing or the subdivision, accordingly we have named that. Okay, the first one, as I told you, was the check based flooding. And this check flooding usually we are adopting in rice in that, and we are have, but in that also we are having the channels and a region, means the plots are going to be divided into smaller one, and then and we are allowing the flooding in that field. So this is known as the check flooding, and after that we are having the second one is the basin. Okay, basin flooding. Okay, so this basin flooding, it means that the small level plots surrounded by the low earth dikes, which is also known as the checks, is there. And this basin, this is for the check basin, which we usually called it. And then in basin we are having the first one. Wait a minute. This basin is usually derived from the China and Egypt. Okay, and also this basin method is almost similar to the your this check flooding, but in this method we require field is irrigated, means the method it entire field is irrigated, while in basin method, actually in check flooding, we are giving water to entire field. But in basin what we are doing, in the field is irrigated it only around the trees. Okay, only around the trees, and that's why it is known as, maybe it's known as the ring basin, or you can say it as a square basin also. Just wait a minute, I'm making more clear to it. Okay, so this is known as your check flooding, or you can say sorry, not check flooding, it is the wild flooding. Okay, this is known as your check flooding. Then this is known as your ring basin. Okay, because and usually this ring basin is usually we are adopting in our orchards. Okay, in orchards we are usually giving this type of irrigation, and this check flooding, in which this is the most common among the surface one, and it is usually suitable for the close growing crops. Okay, and in close growing crops we can say the groundnut is there, then we are having wheat, also the finger millet, pearl millet is also there. And but in wild flooding this is usually common for the rice, and this is exclusively for the lowland, though it is used for some other crops also. But water is allowed from the channel enter into the entire field, and since standing water is present to at least to a small depth, spreading of water is easy. But labor requirement for irrigation is minimum. In this we don't require any labor, so the labor requirement in this is minimum. Okay. Then in check basin, if you say, so this usually light texture soils needs the small sized check basins, and the advantages of this method are that the water can be applied uniformly over here. So you have to see ki in this the water is usually uniformly distributed, and also, but some demerits are also there, because some, since we are making these plots into small basin like structure, or some the channels and the ridges are usually formed, so in this more labor requirement is there. Okay, and the same condition is with the ring basin also. So in this ring basin we are requiring labors, and this, since over here it's the ring, it might be in the form of a square also, and at that time it is known as the square basing method. Okay, understood. Now in the surface irrigation, the third one was the border irrigation. Okay, and this border irrigation and is usually is like this, in which from here we are applying the water, and over here these are the ridges. Okay, but in check irrigation you see we have made the small fields, we have divided the field into small plots, but over here the long strips are there, which are usually rectangular in, that's usually rectangular in size. Okay, and this length of rectangular may be 30 meter, this breadth is there, and 300-meter length will be there, and also or you can say 30 to 50 or 300 meter length are usually there in the border irrigation. And the last one is our furrow irrigation. Last one is our furrow irrigation. Okay, and in this furrow method of irrigation is usually he adopted to the crops grown is the ridges and furrow. Whatever crop we are going on means the bed preparation is the form of the ridges and the furrow. At that method of sowing, we usually follow the furrow irrigation, and is this furrow irrigation is usually suitable for the sorghum, sugarcane, tobacco, brinjal, maize, cotton, and also your fodder, that is known as the Napier grass. So in this crops usually we are sowing these crops on the ridge and furrow, and because of that we usually follow the furrow irrigation. So but in cotton is very most asked question for this key, in which crop the furrow irrigation is usually practiced. This tobacco is also, and sugarcane, these are the most important crops which usually asks in the exams for the IBPS. Okay, now this furrow irrigation is further divided into some categories. Okay, so just you have to know ki in which pattern the furrow irrigation are usually divided. So the first one is the surge irrigation, the second one is the cabligation, and the fourth one is the corrugation. Okay, so in corrugation, the close growing row crops are usually there, like your wheat, setaria, or the groundnut, which occasionally give you, means we have to provide the supplement irrigation in that. Okay, or supplement irrigation is usually known as your life saving irrigation. Okay. So just you have to know the corrugation, for the supplemental irrigation we are usually practiced, and in which crops this corrugation furrow, which is a type of the furrow irrigation, is there, or in the rain fed areas. Okay, then we are having this cabligation. To in this you have to just learn one word. Okay, this is the automated method of surface irrigation. This is known as the automated method of surface irrigation. Also, you can say the form of the furrow irrigation. And this surge irrigation, this is usually known as the on or off modes of constant or variable time. Okay, or constant. Over here it should be constant or variable time. Or this surge irrigation is also known as intermittent application of water. Okay, this only usually asks in the exam, so just remember this thing. Key, the surge irrigation is known as the intermittent application of water. This cabligation is usually known as the automated method of surface irrigation, and this corrugation is the supplement irrigation. And this corrugation is usually for the supplemental irrigation, and which usually practiced in the rain fed area. Okay. Okay, now we are having the subsurface irrigation, and this subsurface irrigation, usually water is applied to the subsurface soil through underground perforated pipes. Okay, in this we are applying the water to the underground, or the and through the subsurface soil, and usually the water is also applied through deep trenches also, which are usually made at the 5 to 30 meter intervals. Okay. And this subsurface irrigation is usually practiced in few places is of Kerala for coconut garden, and in Kashmir for vegetables. Okay, so this is very important examples which usually asks in the exam. Ki the subsurface irrigation and is usually practiced in the Kerala and Kashmir of the India. Okay, then we at last we are having sprinkler irrigation. Okay, and this in sprinkler irrigation, if we define ki what is the sprinkler irrigation, then it is known as the spray the water into the air. We are spraying water into the air, spray the water into the air. Okay, and then we are allowing it to fall down. Allow it to fall on to the plants. Okay, means first we are giving the water into the air, and then that water is allowed to fall on the plants, and as well as if we are applying it to the plants, it will come to the soil also. So we are allowing to fall it on, and as the and how these water are going to be fall onto the plants and soil. Well, it is same as the simulated rainfall, means in the form of the rain only, whatever is there, that will be he fall onto the plants and the soil. Okay. So I'm repeating over here, this is sprinkler irrigation and is defined as the spray the water into the air and then allow it to fall onto the grounds, plants and the soil as a simulated rainfall. Then that is known as the sprinkler irrigation. And this sprinkler irrigation and is usually practiced in that land where we are not having, means this land leveling is very uneconomically. Okay, so in which area, this question may be asked ki in which area this sprinkler irrigation we are usually practice. So where the land leveling is uneconomical, at that place we are usually practiced our sprinkler irrigation. Okay. And then this sprinkler irrigation is also known as the overhead irrigation. This also you have to learn. Okay, and this sprinkler irrigation is usually classified as the permanent or semi permanent, and also in the form of the portable, semi portable, or you can say the solid set. And usually whatever this means, because in a sprinkler we should have one pump, the requirements of pump is there, and through that pump the water is usually uh, pumped into the main pipeline. Then through the main pipeline it goes to the lateral pipelines, and also one riser is there. Since it is a overhead, means it will be at the length of the plant. Okay, so one riser is there here, that is also known as the riser pipe. And at last we are having one sprinkler. Okay, and this sprinkler is usually the main component of this sprinkler irrigation, because this sprinkler here is only component which allow the water to goes into the air and fall on the plants and the soils in the form of the rain drops. Okay, so only this much you have to study in this. And this sprinkler irrigation, one more important thing is there, but is usually save your water 25 to 30% from different crops, for different crops. And usually it save water, or in comparison to the surface irrigation, it's usually save 35 to 40% of water. And it's also reduces the erosion. These are the merits of the sprinkler irrigation. And this also saving in fertilizers. Okay, maybe the foliar spray, whatever we are applying, that can be foliar splay we can give it with this irrigation only. Okay, and you also can say that the water use efficiency it can be increased by 3 to 4 times with the sprinkler or with compared to your flooding sandy soil. Okay, so this water use efficiency is also going to be increased in this, and this is especially suitable for the slopes, means steep slopes are there or the rolling topography is there, though in that areas this sprinkler irrigation is in very much, or it's having one importance area in that. Okay, but some demerits are also there. Okay, because of these pipelines it's a high initial cost is there. Okay, the efficiency is also affected by wind, and that's why you can say that the wind drift are one problem in the sprinkler irrigation. And if the area is having high temperature, okay, so at that time high evaporation and usually losses in the spraying of water. Okay, then it is not suitable for the sugarcane. This question is also there ki usually this surface irrigation or sorry sprinkler irrigation is not efficient for the sugarcane, or you can say the wheat or rice. Okay, and it also not suitable in the heavy clay soils oils. These are the demerits. Then one more demerits is there that poor quality water cannot be used, means the poor quality, this we will be later studying about the quality of water. So the poor quality water cannot be used in the sprinkler irrigation. Okay, so these are the demerits which we have to focus. Then at last we are having our drip irrigation. So drip irrigation is also known as the trickle irrigation. This drip irrigation is known as trickle irrigation, and it is suitable for the water scarcity is there, or the salt affected soils are there at that place. These are very much suitable for water scarcity, or you can say salt affected soils. And in this the water is applied in the root zone of the crop. Whatever water we are giving, that will be applied to the root zone of crop. Okay, and also the standard water quality test needed for design and operation of this irrigation system. As I told you ki in the previous one, the sprinkler irrigation in that the poor quality water cannot be used, means the sensitivity of the crop to the saline water or the clogging of nozzles will be there. So over here also in drip irrigation we have to go through for the standard water quality test, so that we can tell whether, means which type of design or which type of operation we have to follow for the drip irrigation. Okay, and this method is usually first time introduced in the Israel. So this also you have to learn ki this drip irrigation the first time was introduced in the Israel. Okay, and this drip irrigation in the year 1940 with the scientist Simcha Blas. Okay, this is known as Simcha Blas, and he is the what you can say engineer in the Israel. Okay, then he observed that a large tree near the leaking faucet exhibited vigorous growth. Then other trees is in that area. Okay, means he observed that so many trees were there, but the tree which where one falls or the leaking faucet is there or at so near that and so many vegetations are we have found it. So he later this concept he has used, and in the year 1964 then he developed the first patent in drip irrigation system. So if question is asked ki drip irrigation was first introduced to that or discovered, you can say that will be in the year 1940, but the patent drip irrigation system was first used or developed in the year 1964, and after that the Australia and USA they also adopt this concept. Okay, also in this we are having same as the sprinkler in drip irrigation also we are having so many components. Okay, so one by one we will be seeing that what are that components. So the components, the first component is the one pump. So one pump is very much required in a drip irrigation, and or also you can say this all this is also important in your sprinkler. Then we are having main line or you can say the pipeline. Then we are having subline, then lateral pipes are there or you can say the line also. Oh, and at last we are having the emitters. Okay, since in sprinkler irrigation we found that and the sprinkler is very much needed, and in drip irrigation this emitter is the last stage or you can say the last component which is very important. Okay, then these emitters are usually made up of PVC material, and this PVC material full form is polyvinyl chloride material. And also we are having some other components like we are having the regulators are there, or you can say the filters also which we are using in a drip irrigation, and we are using the valves also. Oh, we are using the meter so that we can arrange the supply of water, and we also using one fertilizer fertilizer tank in which we fertilizer tank through which we can give the fertigation also, and the fertigation means the fertilizer plus irrigation. This is known as fertigation. Okay, the fertilizer tank also we need so that we can mix the fertilizer and in the water. And the discharge rate of these emitters are usually range from 2 to 10 liters per hour. This also very important question ki the emitters of the drip irrigation usually emits the water or discharge the water at a rate of 2 to 10 liters per hour, or we can also say that the 2.5 kg per centimeter square pressure. Okay, this water is usually released at this pressure. Okay, so these two are very important question related to the drip irrigation. Now we will see about the importance of the drip irrigation. So in drip irrigation, the water saving or the losses due to deep percolation, surface runoff, and the transmission are avoided. And over here also your evaporation losses occurring in the sprinkler irrigation and do not occur in the drip irrigation. So in sprinkler irrigation, we were having our evaporation losses. Okay, but in drip irrigation we don't have the evaporation losses. Okay, but we are having the losses of percolation. This percolation losses is also there in our surface irrigation, but this percolation losses are also not there in our drip irrigation. Okay, and surface runoff is also there, runoff losses are also there, or the erosion you can say, whichever there in the surface irrigation, and that runoff is losses is also not there in the drip irrigation. Okay, over here you can see the uniform water distribution is there. Okay, we are having uniform water distribution. Uniform water distribution we are having in this. Okay, this is the advantage of the drip irrigation. And also the application rate over here can be adjusted by using different size of the drippers, or you can say the emitters also, means the emitters are also known as the drippers, and that why the name is known as drip irrigation. Okay, as I told you, 2 to 10 liters per hour is usually at what pressure we are supplying. We are supplying at 2.5 kg per centimeter square. So this rate is also going to change accordingly with the pressure or okay of these emitters. Okay, now this drip irrigation we can also apply, or we can use for the wide spread crops. Okay, this also we have to focus ki in the wide spaced, sorry, over here it should be spaced, ki in the wide spaced crop we usually follow this drip irrigation. And the examples are particularly for the coconut also and other horticultural tree. Okay, and in this drip irrigation, we are having water saving up to 50 to 70% as compared to the surface irrigation. And water use efficiency in this are usually is 95%, and this irrigation are variable, means that we can apply the drip irrigation at variable topographic condition also. Then the soil erosion is usually reduced through drip irrigation, I have told you. Now, this drip irrigation is also very important in controlling the weed. since the weed seeds or the weed propagules are not getting enough water, so we can control, means drip irrigation is also beneficial to control the weed. But over here, land saving is also one major factor because we are using the pipes and all. So for making the channels or the ridges, we are not using that land, so the land saving is also there in the drip irrigation. And it's also, oh, less labor cost are there. Okay. We are not, we will not be using so much labor in this for maintaining or making this ridges or the channels and everything. So, and also, oh, for applying of water, since it is automatic one and one or two labor can control or see supervise all the function. And but the over here we are having high initial cost, but the later only one time investment is there, but after installation we are not having labor cost. Okay. So and we have discussed the advantages, but we are, as we are having some advantages, so oh, we will be having some disadvantages also, in which the first one I have told you, the high initial cost is there. And usually these drippers, or you can say, the emitters are also going to be blocked by the salts of the water, you can say, or any through the debris or any other things. This drippers and emitters are usually get blockage. Okay. And it also interfere with our intercultural operation. Okay. It because the pipes will be there in the field, so it will be interference with our intercultural, or with the farm operations or the movements of implements or the machineries are there. Here to with, over here you can say, intercultural operation. And also the fourth point is that in this we have to maintain it frequently, or you can say we have the frequent maintenance charges will be there. And last but not the least, the trees grown may develop shallow confined root zones, resulting into poor encourage. As you see, in drip irrigation, we are through the emitters, since it is emitter, we are applying water to any trees. Okay. So the roots will be not very much deep, because roots are usually grow deeper in the search of water only. Okay. And if these roots will get the water only through the shallow soil surface, so it will not grow into deep, the deep roots will not be there. And because of that, the trees usually, he will be weak in encourage material. Okay. Means their capacity to hold the soil will be less, and this is also our demerit over here. Okay. I hope I have made you clear everything. Are you having any doubt? You can ask me.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
in one exam they asked which of the following methods is not used for fruit crops, ma'am.
Okay. And what are the options?
Actually, I don't remember, ma'am.
Okay.
This, I think in control flooding they gave the options, ma'am.
So they, that will be not will be there, because since I have told you, I have rubbed all the things in surface irrigation. I told you this basin flooding are there now. So
For fruit.
these ring basins are usually for your horticulture crops or the fruits or vegetables are usually there, and
Huh.
also your sprinkler irrigations are there now, or your subsurface irrigations are there. As I told you, in Kashmir these
Mm.
are usually used for the vegetables. Okay, so likewise, you means whatever examples I have told you, you just have to focused on that, and according to the exam means the option, your answer will be changed. So it's okay that you have remembered the question, but options are very important. Ki what is given in the option, if the option is differ, your answer will also get the differ. If the comparison of the your sprinkler surface and drip is mentioned, okay, so at that time we will not be applying the surface irrigation, we are not going to apply the sprinkler over there, we will go for the drip irrigation in vegetables, because so this drip irrigation is going to save our water. But if the option from the surface irrigation is mentioned in the question na, then we will go for the your for the fruits or for the trees we will be going for the ring basin, and in subsurface irrigation is mentioned in that, so we go for our subsurface irrigation. The option, depending on the option, your answer is going to be changed.
Ma'am, they gave options all from the surface irrigation only, like check one, check
Huh?
check irrigation one, basin irrigation one, and border and furrow.
Then you go for this now. Check basin will not be going. Basin flooding will be no, basin will be for the horticulture crops now, and
Question was
border
which of the following is not used for a fruit crop?
not used for the fruit crops, or
Ah,
which is used for the fruit crops.
no, ma'am. Which is not used, they asked, ma'am. Generally, we use that is basin we use for the fruit crop.
What is the
They have
options? What are the
check
options?
all this check and basin and border and furrow.
Okay. You can tell just no
Then
need to
check,
some.
then check flooding will be the most appropriate. We are
Okay,
not
ma'am.
going to give this means flooding. Check basin, a check flooding will be a type of a flooding na.
That
Okay.
So
is for closed
flooding,
crops. That is
ha,
for closed crops.
so flooding is only exclusively for the rice one. So we can't grow for the fruit crops the flooding. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
then the option will be this one.
Thank you, ma'am.
The most out of the this out of the surface method, which method is using for your fruit crops?
Ring basin, sir.
Ring basin. Other than that, and which is suitable in out of the surface, which is suitable for your this one vegetables? Most of the vegetables. Okay, out of the all the surface method, which is more efficient in terms of water saving?
Ridge and furrow, sir.
Yeah.
Furrow. Furrow will be the most appropriate one. And in
And
furrow,
continue.
yes, sir, you speak, sir.
Yeah, subsurface irrigation using has like Richard told in Kashmir for vegetable, as well in Kerala for coconut gardens. In Kerala also they will use subsurface irrigation for coconut gardens. Sometimes they will. I think this thing they are asked in 2 years back in JRF.
Hmm.
Okay, continue.
That is most important one, because in subsurface irrigation in India we usually practice this subsurface irrigation only in two states, that is the Kerala, or you can say the Jammu and Kashmir. In Kerala we will using that for the coconut, and in Jammu Kashmir we are using for vegetable. But in the rest of the states we are not using the subsurface irrigation. Okay, and usually in the hilly area which irrigation is practiced mostly, in hilly areas which method of irrigations will be practiced mostly, I told you, where the topography land leveling is a problem or uneconomical, at that place we are using the sprinkler.
Sprinkler.
Okay, so this also you have to
If
learn.
among the surface in undulated area, which one you can suggest? We can suggest Among the surface methods,
Furrow, sir.
No.
furrow only what contour? With contour.
Yeah, the
Okay.
furrow, as I told you in the previous section, this method of irrigations are also, these furrow are also classified on the basis of some other thing. The first one is the graded one, contour one, and the level one. Or in leveling, I told you today, hey, the surge is there, the cabligation are there, and the corrugations are there. Actually, this furrow is very one big chapter in our methods of irrigation. But since you are going for a IBPS, so I have just overview brief I have given you. So this contour is usually the contour furrow irrigation we usually practiced for surface irrigation in hilly areas. Okay, this
And
question.
due to intercultivation with the desi flows in maize crop, which type of furrow this which method we which is that one? The shallow furrows in maize crop due to intercultivation. They made the shallow furrows with during the intercultivation.
That shallow is usually known as the corrugation also. Okay, the
Yes,
shallow means,
Devaraj. Devaraj.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Then which is automatic one on off system?
Search method.
Which one?
Search method.
Then the third one is what? The second one. One is shallow furrow, one is automatical on and off. Okay. The third one.
that was the
Oh,
cabligation, and
Application.
cabligation is
what is the
what for
cabligation?
what?
Yeah, Utkala.
Automated method of surface irrigation is cabligation, sir.
Yeah,
The-
it's correct.
Then the remaining two, one is shallow. Which one is shallow? The shallow furrows made in row
Corrugation.
crops due to intercultivation, and further in future, in after that intercultivation, that furrows using for irrigation, application of irrigation.
Madam told it is under corrugation, sir.
And okay, then what is on and off?
Search irrigation.
Surge irrigation.
Then what is the third term?
Three terms, sir. Surge
What is
irrigation,
surge,
cabligation,
cabligation, and
corrugation.
just okay. Surge is the automatic on and off system. Okay, that's tiding and all those things. Then differentiate both the remaining two.
No, no differentiation, sir. But statement you should remember, madam told. Cabligation is automated method of surface irrigation. Corrugation is like supplemental irrigation in the rain-fed areas.
Okay, okay. Then saline salt affected cells. Which method?
Drip irrigation.
Among surface only. Among
Furrow
surface.
method.
Flooding, sir.
Flooding or furrow? Irrigation
Furrow.
method.
Flooding, sir. Saline
Flooding
soils.
okay for flooding for that what is the leaching, but irrigation method is suggested one is furrow.
Furrow method.
But okay, we are sowing in furrow. Which direction we have to sow? Which direction? In salt affected soils, my land is salt affected. That's problematic soil, and I was prepared furrows to sow the crop. I want to place the seed in that furrow or ridge.
2/3 of the furrow.
One third of.
1/3 of furrow. Top.
Okay. Then direction. East, west, northeast, north, south, northeast, southwest. Just this is for your assignment. I think it's very simple and everybody knows. Okay, you just text me after this class in our group. Just search it. Everywhere it's available. Okay, the direction many times they are asking in many competitive exams. Okay, then okay, ma. Anything
Okay.
else about irrigation methods?
So I just want to tell one more thing.
Okay.
Actually, in a furrow irrigation also, if we have to means there are some other methods are also, like the sir has asked you again and again about the short furrow. Oh, and then we are having every furrow
Yes.
irrigation.
Yes.
Then we are having alternate furrow irrigation.
Skip
Okay.
irrigation. Hmm.
Huh. That is also known as the skip irrigation. And then we are having the wide spread furrow irrigation. Wide spread furrow irrigation. And the last one we are having within row irrigation. Okay, these types of furrow irrigation we are having. And this short furrow, oh, we usually used for the vegetable crops. Okay. In this the irrigated with this short furrows of 5 to 6 meter length, and 5 to 6 rows are usually there in the at short furrow. Okay, and this short furrow we are usually use for the kitchen gardening. Okay, then we are having every furrow. In this means whatever furrow, oh, we are having in our land, we are applying irrigated to every furrow irrigation in that. Okay, but in alternate means if we are giving in this furrow we are applying the irrigation, then we skip this furrow. Oh, and then we will be applying in first, and then third furrow we will be applying the irrigation. Okay, and then we are having the wide spread furrow. So in widespread furrow, oh, we usually he skip 2 to 5 meter length between that furrows. Means maybe in one, and we are giving this water, then we will be skipping water for the 2 to 5 meter. These are the range for skipping. Then it is known as the widespread. If we are just alternating or skipping the second furrow, then it is known as the alternate furrow. But when we are is means leaving the furrows for the 2 meter or a 5 meter, then it is known as the widespread furrow irrigation. And then last one we are having the within a row. Actually this within row slightly differ from the every furrow irrigation. Means sometime we are having the confusion that within row irrigation is there. So that will be used means that furrow irrigation will be there. But for every furrow irrigation, we the land or the field is laid out into the ridges in a furrow, and the seeds or the seedlings are usually planted on the sides of the ridges. Okay, and then irrigation water is applied in sufficient quantity to wet most of the ridges. Okay, but within furrow irrigation, our main aim is the reducing the amount of water applied for each irrigation. So in this method what we are doing, a pre-sowing irrigation is given and the seeds are placed in the furrow itself. Okay, and subsequently irrigation are given to a shallow depth it into the furrow. And since the crop is in the furrow, so instead of the side of the furrow, oh, the entire ridge is there, which will be not be wetted. Okay, so in this within row furrow, the water requirement for this type of irrigation from the conventional furrow irrigation we can save up to 40%. As sir has asked now ki if salt affected land or the soil will be there, to at which portion we are going to place the seeds. Okay, but within a row irrigation what we are giving, we are placing that pre-sowing we have already given. But when that the crop is in the furrow only, so instead of the side of furrow we are the entire ridge need not to be wetted, because we are growing that crop in the furrow only. Okay, got the point? Pre-sowing in within furrow irrigation, our main aim that we reduce the amount of water. And how we are going to reduce that? In this method we will be giving one pre sowing irrigation, and the seeds are planted in the furrow itself. We are not going to place it on the ridges or the side of the furrow. We will be placing that in the furrow itself. So the irrigation then after we are placing that seed into the furrow, we will be giving a very shallow depth irrigation. And or since the crop is in the furrow, oh, so the entire this furrow range or the ridge above the above ridge portion, we are not going to wet that. We were just giving in the furrow, oh, a shallow depth water in that furrow. Got the point? We are not going to place on this side. Then it is known as the within row irrigation. And in this, we can save up to 40% water saving will be there from the our conventional furrow irrigation.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
then we can go for normal land only, then we can sow na ma'am. Why to make ridge and then again do like this, ma'am?
Because when we are making ridges na
Hmm.
and furrow means if this plane surface will be there, the evaporation from this surface will be higher than in comparison to the ridge and furrow. Oh, in this type of land or this type of arrangements of the soil, our evaporation will going to be reduced because these sites are going to cover some portion, means some evaporation losses, mainly portion is the evaporation losses from this portion is less because of that in comparison to the plain surface, what you say.
Our only one objective here is use less water to produce optimum crop production and more water use efficiency. And the generally in our condition, the irrigation water is the very scarce. So we have to prepare. We have to go for which method is give more efficient, which is more efficient. Okay. Then Lavanya, yes,
Yes, sir.
Lavanya,
Yes, sir.
how are you?
I'm fine, sir.
How is going on here classes? We
Sir?
are new. We are new.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Since
you just
last week.
for any this thing you just contact that two your classmates Aprin and that okay.
Nirlepa, sir.
Okay. Then how is the classes? I think that schedule is something from I will okay, due to some other this disturbance schedule is not regular. I will regularize. Okay, other than that, Devaras, Devaras. Hello, Devaras. What is your rank? I think he is muted. Devaraj?
So should I stop our this
Yeah.
live?
Richa, you will stop.
Okay, okay,
You will stop there in YouTube.
okay, sir.
Okay. Then I will see. Then Devaraj?